Okay, let's go down to seated. And any kind of movement you like to get out of your body, go ahead and take a moment to move. And you can wiggle the fingertips, open up through the chest and the arms. Hopefully this is going to stay. And eventually coming down to the earth and just placing the hands, maybe the chest and the forehead if you can reach it down onto the earth. Starting to notice where the breath is going in the body. Noticing where you're holding tension this morning. Keeping the eyes closed, we'll walk ourselves back up through center. Left palm is facing the ceiling, right palm can flip down. Find the sitting bones and lift up a little taller through the crown of the head. And as you inhale and exhale, feel the length of the spine. From sits bone to crown. Inhaling as you lift, exhaling as you come back down to the sitting bones. Filling up the space through the chest, the ribs, the belly with the inhale. Feeling the expansion away from the spine. Keep filling up the space. And as you inhale, also fill up all the back space behind the spine. Everything is opening as if it's inflating away from the midpoint, away from the center of the body. For the last few breaths, bring your awareness into your palms, one up and one down. Inhale through the left receiving palm and exhale through the right giving palm. You may feel some tingling sensations, maybe some heat, some more energy within the palms. With this next inhale, we'll fill up from top to bottom. Holding at the top, take left hand to heart, right hand to belly. Pull your navel to your spine, lift the chest. Try to keep holding. Then gently release. You can take fingers across the eyelids. You can press across the brow towards the temple. You can use the thumb to massage underneath the ear or the back of the jaw. Anything that feels good there for you for a moment. And eventually we're going to come onto our back. And we're just going to start with a short shavasana. So whatever you'd like to add to make it comfortable, you have some pillows, you have some blocks. Allowing the body to settle for a moment. And while you're here, going through a body scan, beginning at the crown of the head, and just going through all the main joints, all the main muscles of the body. Noticing if there's any areas that need your attention today. While you're here resting, allowing the body to be calm, to be quiet, allowing the body to soften and just to completely relax. As you breathe, the muscles are getting softer. The body is getting heavier. There's a sense of just letting go. You can always stay here longer if this feels good to you. Or you can start bringing some movement into the body. Maybe wiggling the toes, the fingers. Gently start bringing things in towards the chest. And we're going to start with a spinal twist. You have your blocks, your blankets, your pillows. If you'd like to place anything between the legs, it can just help support your hips in your twist. So I'm going to take my legs to the left side first. I'm going to go block in between the legs, let the legs fall to the side, and just for a moment move within this twist. I like to take big sweeping circles with the arms. You can unroll the shoulder to the floor. You have a few different options with this twist. You can keep the knees bent, you can extend the legs, you can extend only one leg, you can bring knees close to the chest. Whatever twist feels good for you here. And then eventually we're going to land gazing in the opposite direction. And as you breathe, you're softening into the low back space, softening into the hips. With each exhale, that right shoulder gets a little heavier. Maybe it falls a little closer to the floor. And feel the side body giving way and releasing. If you're still feeling tension in the hip, you can always use your other arm to hold the legs, and then it helps release the hips. Remember, the goal here is to relax and to soften. But if at any time holding the pose starts to create some tension in the body, feel free to move a little bit, to sway or to rock. Sometimes in these deeper twists, my arms get a little antsy, a little numb, so I have to move my hands around. And making sure we're relaxing into these poses, but we're also taking care of our body at the same time. Few more breaths here. If you're holding on to the leg, maybe release the hand. Let both arms completely relax. And gradually you can start bringing the knees towards the chest, taking any movement. Notice what the low back needs, what the hips need. And coming into stillness, wherever's comfortable for you. And just letting the back settle, the spine settle. Always feel free to stay in your position as long as you'd like. And if you're ready to move on to the other side twist, get whatever support you had on the other side. And then start moving the knees to the right. Once you're in your twist, any kind of movement, start opening up, expanding across the chest. Unrolling the left arm. Feeling the stretch across the chest, the shoulder. And then eventually landing in your twist. And whatever supports you'd like to hold yourself there. Taking your awareness into the body. Intentionally softening, relaxing, and releasing. Going through another little body scan while you're here. Just making sure that we're not creating tension in any areas. Keeping the hips soft. Try not to use the hips to hold the posture, but use the props and use your hands maybe. Allowing the hips to soften so that the spine can release. While we're in these postures, we're even letting the mind go. We're staying away from our to-do lists, staying away from our workloads, staying away from our chores, just allowing everything to settle into be right here in this moment. As on the other side, if you're starting to feel any tingling or numbing, allow the body to move a little bit to get the blood flowing. Sometimes holding twists can limit that. So we want to listen to the body while we're here. If you'd like to release your top hand, let both shoulders, both arms, both hands be soft. Eventually start bringing things towards the center, letting the body move and adjust. Noticing the right side and the left side now that we've done them both. Once you've done the movement you wanted, you can go back to your stillness for a few breaths. A little check-in with the body. You may feel some heat sensation in the spine and the low back. As you breathe, allow that heat sensation to dissipate through the rest of the body. gradually start moving. And the next posture we're going to go into is a heart opener. So you'll need block and then either a blanket or a pillow or both. We're going to do the chest opener with the block in between the scapula up in the rhomboids. But then you're going to put some support at the upper back with either a rolled blanket or the pillow, or if you want even more support, you could probably stack them both. So I'll show you what it's going to look like. It'd be kind of tricky to stack them both, but it is nice when it's higher. You can do the stacking first. And since you have 2 blocks, you can also use one to support the head. I like to let the head hang heavy so that I feel more stretch across the chest. You can just lean back and maneuver however you need to. They're skinnier blocks, so they're a little easier to maneuver. And the blanket or the pillow can go as high up as you want. You want to let the low back, the hips, the sacrum move towards the mat so you're getting that nice big lift through the chest area. Then with the arms, you can just open them to the sides. You feel the stretch from the pec to the shoulder. As you breathe here, the ribs expand, the lungs open up. At any time it gets uncomfortable with the arms to the side, the closer you bring the arms to the body, the less stretch. So you can curl them in close if you'd like. You can just bring them to rest across the belly. Any adjustments you need to make to try to stay here for as long as we can. Staying comfortable, keeping the chest open and expanding, allowing more breath to move through the body. Bring through a little body scan here, just to make sure there's no tension that we're creating while we hold this pose. Check in with the neck and the jaw. Check in with the hips. Keeping the belly muscles soft and pliable. Taking a few more breaths and bringing more intention to the inhale. Continue to inhale until it feels like you can't inhale anymore. Get the ribs to open up, the chest to open up, the shoulders to fall away. If the head is hanging off the block, reach your hands back to support the head. And then you can gently just use your arms to bring the head up in line with the shoulders. You can walk the feet close to the hips. And then just be careful as you roll to one side. You don't want the block to flop. And once you get to one side, stay there and breathe, releasing any pressure on the spine. Whenever you're ready to start moving again, we're going to do our next pose on our belly. So you can flip over, do some movements in quadruped. You can go to child's pose. You can move around a little bit in downward facing dog if you'd like. Oh, stuff. Holding for just a few moments of stillness, allowing the body to settle. Try walking yourself up to the knees. We're just going to hold for a minute to tuck the toes under here and get a little toe press. So I tuck the toes under, wiggle the weight back, and then I want to keep the shoulders, hips right over the toes. You can kind of mess around with the pelvis a little bit here. Notice if you move forward or back, if it adds weight or releases weight from the feet. And then releasing the weight out of the feet, we're going to move on to our belly. So this next pose is going to be a half frog in Sphinx pose. Let's bring a block forward just in case we need it. Actually, let's just put all the things at the top of the mat. If you can do a frog, a half frog with a 90-degree knee, that's where we're moving towards. If your knee isn't ready for that 90-degree, then you just keep your foot closer to the body. So Sphinx pose is forearms down, index finger especially pointed forward. And you're getting some compression in the low back on this one. So whichever leg you'd like to start with, once you're in your Sphinx pose, you bring one leg out to the side and you're trying to get the knee in line with the hip. If it doesn't reach there yet, that's fine. You can lower it, you can pull the foot closer to the body. I know that my hips are pretty warm this morning already, so I can bring my knee up. I can bring my heel underneath my knee. And if you'd like to just make sure that we're not kind of releasing too much, you can use the block in between the hands, and that'll help you stay in your Sphinx pose. If you feel like you just really want to rest, you can also place a pillow or something underneath the rib cage and it will support there for you, or the blanket. But what we're looking for in this posture is a little bit of compression in the spine. So we're not holding this one too long. You're opening up the left thigh to the floor, opening up the left hip to the floor. You're trying to keep the groin pulling down, the inner thigh pulling down. And then as you lift and lengthen, you feel the compression in the back muscles. Making sure to stay soft in the neck, not creating any tension there. If at any time the triceps start getting sore, the arms start getting sore, just replant down through the forearm. Okay, you're going to feel the triceps. We're trying to hold, keep the compression, and then transfer the work throughout the entire arm. And start releasing the compression in the back muscles. Bringing the knee closer to the body. Any movement you want to get out there. Maybe shake the hips out. You can windshield wipe the legs. And gradually coming into stillness for a few breaths. Eventually moving to the other side. If you feel like you want to take a child's pose or any sort of rounding to release the back first, take any movement you want. And then we'll do one more compression on the spine. So I'm taking opposite leg out, knee, hip one line, knee, heel one line. Unless you're not quite ready for that, you bring the foot closer, you can drop the knee. So any support you'd like, you can press the ribs against a blanket or pillow. You have the block in between the hands. Keeping the forearms down, keeping the wrists down. As you breathe, you're feeling the compression in the back. You're opening up the front space with the breath. Try to unroll the right thigh, or whichever thigh you're on, try to unroll it to the floor. Keeping the pelvis down. No tension in the neck or the jaw. The arms start getting tired. You can always readjust, re-engage the forearms, the wrists, the hands to the floor. You can always move if you need to move a little bit. It helps release some energy. Taking a few more breaths here. Releasing the body down. Any movement you need. Before we settle in this time, let's add our downward facing, or you can move through cat-cow, or you can go back to child's pose, just to get rid of any compression on the low back space we just worked. And then you can make your way to stillness, back or belly. Feel free to stay here. We can start moving it up for a psoas release. The psoas release, we're not going to hold very long. I've never done this one, so I'm not sure how intense it is. But you're basically going to take the block to the base of the rib and lay on it. So we normally do this where we place it either at the armpit or the hip, but we're placing it on the soft, fleshier part of the abs so that we get a press up through the psoas. So first go to the side and just make sure you're supporting with the arm. And then let's actually take some props up to the head in case you want to prop your head up. Then you're just gently releasing weight down on top of the block. And you're trying not to let the ribs support it so much. You're trying to get the block to push up into the side body. Oh, it doesn't feel very good. It's slightly painful. It feels like it's an organ detox. That's what it feels like. So we'll just hold here for a little bit. And this one is a pretty deep, intense stretch, so if at any time you need to roll out of it, feel free to come out of it. Just taking 3 more breaths here. It seems to feel better if you kind of roll back on the block versus pushing forward into the ribs. You can kind of roll your body back onto it. Feels a little bit more comfortable. And then as we release this one, make sure you're using the hands. And when you come up, just engage the ribs enough, the abs enough to support the ribs. And then we're just going to slide the block out and go to the side. We're going to move on from this posture. I'm not going to spend too much time with this one. I want to get us to a hamstring stretch. You can flip to the other side. Get the block in place underneath the ribs, above the hips. And once you're there, settle in for a few breaths. We're just holding for about a minute. And like I said before, it does feel a little better when you roll back onto the block a little bit, getting rid of the pressure on the front rib. One more breath. Using the arms, using the hands, whatever you need to bring yourself up off the block. Stay a little engaged in the abdominals. And then remove the block and come on to the side. Whenever you're ready to start bringing movement into the body, we're going to finish up with a hamstring stretch. And I'm going to go into a fold for the hamstring stretch. You can do a fold, or you have the option to use your straps and just do a double strap, open up the hamstrings from your back. I like to do the folds. It feels more comfortable. Okay. So if you're doing the fold, you can use as much support as you want for the belly. If you're doing a strap, you can just, actually you could use the strap from here as well if you wanted to. Otherwise, staying away from rounding the back too much, because then you'll move out of the hamstrings. Trying to keep the back nice and long, and then bringing the chest down to the thighs. Thanks, Anne-Marie. You have a block if you like for your head in the fold. And these are big muscles, so you can breathe into this one pretty deeply, keeping the feet active enough that the quads are active, helping to open up the under part of the leg. As we hold here on this bigger stretch, you can find different levels of the stretch. So maybe you can use the exhales to get lower and closer to the legs, closer to the floor. You can find new layers to release in the hips, new layers to release in the hamstrings. If your head is on a block and you're supporting yourself, or maybe if your pillow is too much, you're not quite feeling the stretch anymore, maybe you can remove the block, remove the blanket or the pillow. It'll take you a little deeper for these last few breaths. And you're ready to bring some movement into the body and shift around. That was our last pose. So any movement you want to get out of the body before we come into full Shavasana for a few minutes. And you've got all the things to make your Shavasana comfortable. And after you're in Shavasana for a few minutes, I'll come around and do a little adjustment. Unless I fall asleep. That sounds so good right now. Allowing everything we just did, everything we released, to just settle. Staying with the breathing, calming the nervous system, knowing that everything is okay, everything is comfortable. As you do a final body scan, if there's any tension left in any areas, just think about releasing it. Think about letting it go. It's serving us no purpose here. Carrying this sense of calm with you through the rest of your day. this sense of letting go, this sense of being at peace within and without. When you're ready, start moving the body. And feel free to do any sort of movement to bring balance back into the body, since we've done a lot of resting, a lot of yin. We'll finish class off with some yang movement. And today we're just going to do a little bit of basically vinyasa. So you're just moving through your upward facing dog to downward facing dog and just flowing front to back, allowing the energy to move from the toes all the way to the fingertips and the crown of the head. And you can always go just to a little supported cobra. You don't have to go. I know I said upward dog, but I don't often go to upward dog. Usually just pulling into cobra. Keep breathing as the energy is moving. And then we'll come down onto our knees. Inhale, palms rise. Exhale, hands to your heart. Thanking your practice and thanking your body. Thank you for the space and practicing with me today. Hope you enjoyed class. I'll see you next time.